Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my humble obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting Srimad Bhagvatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Srimad Bhagvatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on Srimad Bhagvatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Guruve Gaurachandraye Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavas, thank you so much for joining on this special day of Ekadashi, Madhava Tithi Bhakti Janani Bhajan Anukula. These special tithis, which are very, very dear to the Lord, are called the Janani, or the mother of Bhakti, and they're Anukul, they're not Pratikul. They're Anukul for what? Not for sense gratification, but for Bhajan. That means that these are very, very favorable for Bhajan. So the goal is to minimize the bodily needs on these days and to focus more on spiritual needs. So let's do that by reading, chanting, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. So I hope you got chance to reread the translations as per the plan of Canto 7, Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. I just posted the summaries, so I don't expect that you would have heard, but you can hear when you get chance today, tomorrow, or whenever you feel appropriate. But the plan was that we didn't cover the summary of 5 and 6, so we can take some reflections, and you can hear the summary later as per your convenience. Just in very, very high level, like summary of the summary is Chapter 5, Prahlad Maharaj's torture was there, and before that he explained the limbs of bhakti and how one cannot get bhakti. That is, one who is completely absorbed in sense gratification. That means who is following the wrong guru, and how one can get the bhakti is by the process of surrendering to a bona fide spiritual master and rendering the 9 limbs of bhakti. Hearing that, Hiranyakashipu didn't like. He tried to kill Prahlad with multiple attempts. Nothing happened, only Hiranyakashipu's anxiety increased. And then Prahlad began to preach to the schoolmates. And then when he started to preach to the schoolmates, Chapter 6 opens. Chapter 6 has 2 main points. Again, this is very summary of the summary. 2 points is, in the first half, he explains that how material life is disastrous. How if 100 years, 50 years go in sleeping, and then childhood, then in the youth, person is so attached to opposite sex, money, this and that. And then in the rest, he explains how important human form of life is, how one must start bhakti at a very early age and worship Lord Vishnu or Krishna, because pleasing him is very, very easy and simple, and he is our true well-wisher. And then he also requests his friends also to preach and take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master like Naradamuni. And then friends ask question, oh, how you got to know Naradamuni? We have been, students of the same teacher, Shan and Amarka, so how you know Naradamuni? That's how chapter ends. So this is like a 2-3 minute summary of the summary. I don't want to go through the entire summary. It will take 30-40 minutes, but we can take some reflections at this point. If you haven't reread the translations, I would encourage. It's certainly very, very insightful. It doesn't take a lot of time. It will take only 20 minutes to read both the chapters. Translation maybe 20-30 minutes at max. Would someone like to share anything struck you? And once you're speaking, you can share from either chapters. It doesn't have to be in any chronological order. Whatever inspired you from these two chapters. Would someone like to start?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, please, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. So what really struck me was that Prahlad Maharaj, after so many times, he was pushed off the cliff, he was put in the snake's pit, he was impossible, just really impossible. The elephants came from the biggest of the biggest, and still he did not even, there's not even a mention of him saying, why me, Krishna, or even complaining or crying. He's such a little child. There's no mention of all this. He's just so absorbed in holy name, completely absorbed. Like basically the outside world did not exist for him. The inside was, he was so deeply focused on Krishna's holy name that it just didn't matter. And second, I just recently heard that it's different to listen to something, and it's really different to listen and follow, and then it's another is just hear. You hear it, and it comes from one ear, it goes from other ear. So when Prahlad Maharaj is speaking such a wonderful philosophy, it somehow makes an impact. You may have heard the same instruction again and again, but when such a small child, so pure, is speaking, Prabhupada's purpose really come to life, and they really make a deep impact, and you feel like you need to change here, and you need to really get detached from this material life. And few other things, the demoniac mentality is such that there is always fear. That was the third point that struck us. So, Hiranyakashipu controlled the entire world, but he cannot make Prahlad love him more than Prahlad loves Vishnu. That's the point, basically, is that even Krishna does not force us to love him, and this is a vivid example why. Otherwise, it will be not a devotional service. It will be service to a person like Hiranyakashipu. So devotional service comes from within, and then you natural love. It's a natural inclination, natural praise, natural awakening of that love for Krishna. And if we try to force devotional service even on someone else, it won't work. So force will never work. It's just we have to water the intrinsic quality in ourselves, which is bhakti, to really see the seed blossom. Back to you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. That's so insightful. Thank you for sharing. Would someone else like to share any reflections or comments? Please don't feel shy. It is time to speak. After Shravanam comes Smaranam. So this is time to remember and share with everyone. Don't feel shy. Don't feel, I'm new or old. Don't feel like that. This is a very open, like a family atmosphere. Don't feel shy. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Ekant. One thing just stuck to me is like Prahlad Maharaj was very small when compared to other demons and his father, but he never left his devotion to he never left the thought of reciting God's name, even though when there are so many demonic people around him, which means like I felt like even though there are a lot of evil thoughts around you, you should keep on focusing on the devotional aspect, because things would be in this Kali Yuga, everything will be in that nature. Like people around you would question, why do you do this? It's not required, etc. But it's up to us, and also we have to be constantly focused on it to get better in this life.
Thank you. That's so nice. Greatness of a person is tested in provoking circumstances or difficult circumstances. And Prahlad Maharaj's example is so unique, so exemplary. So nicely you mentioned this point. And it is a lesson for us also that our problems are very tiny compared to what Prahlad Maharaj had gone through. So even if problems come in our life, health problems, emotional problems, relationship problems, job problems, business problems, which will come because we are in this world. But we should never compromise on our Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj never compromised. He was always thinking of Guru and Krishna. Very nice comment. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam. It's a similar context. Just I would struck and it's reflected in my mind that here Sanda and Amarka, the representative of Hiranyakashipu, they always tried to distract Prahlad Maharaj and giving him opposite result. I mean, distracting him towards the non-devotional part. So, like in our devotee life, also it sometimes happens when some devotee is seriously engaged in the devotional service and try to improve him or herself. Sometimes it comes like a non-devotee friend who are very much materialistic. They try to distract them and making them like teasing them, like what you are doing, how you changes, like that. So devotee has to be very patient and humbly tell them not to poke their nose in devotee's life who wanted to improve in the Krishna consciousness. So that is what I just would like to share. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Do you think that if you tell them not disturb, they'll stop disturbing?
Yes, Prabhuji, sometimes it's challenging because they usually help in like material way, sometimes in material aspects in the life, in our material life. So it's sometimes it's hard to say them directly no, but sometimes I made a trick to tell them no. They understood, but they could not say anything because I'm not directly telling them about the cause, but I'm just avoiding them. So and yeah, Devotees Association helped me with that, and thank you for guiding us constantly.
Thank you. Thank you for your nice reflections. Anyone else would like to share?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Sudhir.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Yeah, Prabhuji, so as Mataji and Prabhuji rightly said, so Prahlad Maharaja was showing as an example, even though he heard from the womb, he still, because he was a great devotee, but he was provoked so many times, but he had that zeal to teach others about the spiritual knowledge. And also, Prabhupada gives a very nice example, how in this material lives, people are beyond this, about this three modes of material nature, and even in the schools, there is no spiritual knowledge being given. and they just think that okay, now we'll enjoy, and at the old age, we'll devote life for Krishna. Not many people that also, but as we know that this life is very 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 fumble, so it can like a bubble, it can burst anytime, and that is the reason Prabhupada says that we should try to incur spiritual knowledge from the tender age like Prahlad Maharaj, because not everyone will get the opportunity to live long, and also one should engage in devotional service from the beginning of the life. Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very nice comments. Yes, Umesh Prabhu, you wanted to speak.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. I like that Prahlad Maharaj explained that 9 process, Sravanam, Maranam, Padasevanam, and all those 9 process has been mentioned very detailed, and one can really start following in that. Most of the time, we get doubt ourselves. What if I just listen? What will happen? What will happen? I just do the kirtan or nothing is happening. But if you really see the reference in Srimad Bhagvatam, King Parikshit has achieved his goal simply by hearing the Srimad Bhagvatam. Sukadeva Goswami is also achieved simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaja, service by always rendering to the Lord. Then we have an example of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, successfully engaging herself, massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. Like that, Hanumana, who rendering his entire service to Prabhu Ramchandra, and like Arjuna and Bali Maharaj offer all their position to Lord Krishna. So this as Nandini Mataji say, one cannot force someone to do all those things, but they have to develop the natural instinct to go beyond this, understand these characters, how they achieve this. Atvanimidams, like how you can one offer the body, mind, intelligence, whatever you can possess. So this is the really interesting thing, and I really like that, and I'll try to follow this. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you. Very nice comments. And that Sanskrit verse is also there in that purport. Who are the acharyas of different limbs of bhakti, as you shared. Very nice. Anyone else would like to share some comments?
Hari Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam to all devotees. So, Prahlad Maharaj told his classmates to be merciful to the all living entities, to be the well-wishers by preaching and enlightening in devotional service. And our Prabhupada is the embodiment of this service. He came all the way to America to preach and started among the hippies, not thinking that they are not civil, not following the rules or anything, but he started preaching and he changed them. Prabhupada was so merciful, and he sent his devotees to all over the world, Europe, Africa, South America, and if I am not mistaken, please correct me, that Prabhupada's one disciple went to the Kenya, and Prabhupada went back to visit their center, he found only the Indians are there. And he said, where are the local Kenyans? They said they may not understand this philosophy or devotional service. So he said, just open the door, let them come and see. And now we see there's a big devotee congregation in the Kenya and big temples. So Prabhupada truly showed his unlimited mercy to all living entities all over the world, irrespective of color, religion, race, education, material positions. All glories to Prabhupada. Back to Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very nice reflection. Anyone else?
Hey Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, everyone. So in chapter 5, what struck me the most is the comparison of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad. We know Hiranyakashipu had gone through a lot of penance and he was controlling the entire material world except Brahmaloka. And then we see how he's becoming so fearful of Prahlad because he is not able to harm Prahlad whatever he tried. We know Prahlad is only 5 years old and he is better than Hiranyakashipu, who did penance for hundreds of celestial years, but with an ulterior motive. So we see why devotional service is the topmost, and when one takes to devotional service, there is no fear, because the faith is very strong that Krishna will take care in any situation, and we see that in Prahlad Maharaj. But Hiranyakashipu, on the other hand, is becoming fearful of Prahlad Maharaj. So clearly from that chapter we can understand that devotional service and taking the path that Prahlad does, taking the 9 limbs of bhakti, is the best approach. And in chapter 6, what struck me the most is about the time factor. Prahlad mentions that how fickle and less this life is, the human life is. It's the best opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. But if we are not focused, it'll go away just like a blink of an eye, and then we would have lost this wonderful opportunity. So Prahlad Maharaj is laying out so wonderfully, and his own spiritual master is saying he's a Mahabhagavat. So he has achieved the greatest in 5 years and showing all the aspects of a great devotee. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So many wonderful points in these chapters for us to go back and reflect again and again. Something that struck me was that, when the Lord's grace comes on a person, their animal intelligence is destroyed and they make no distinction between friends and enemy, and that is a true Vaishnava quality, that he never creates that situation for himself. And Prabhupada's purport are so heartwarming to see, and he's taken so much time to describe every verse in so much detail and instructions for us. And what really struck me was that even after having such an exalted son, how Hiranyakashipu's mentality is still so demonic. It's like people give up when they see their loved ones strive for something so magnanimous, which is transcendental, but even as a father, that means Maya is, and the illusion and the concoction of the mind is so strong. Even after doing so many penances and austerity he didn't give up. That makes me realize that what we have to deal with in the material world is extremely difficult, and without the grace of the Lord and his devotees, it's completely impossible to even think of detaching ourselves. And how Prahlad Maharaj, he reminds us that this human life is misused by our unnecessary attachment. We have to be of this world and not be of this world, but everything we do, at least, is how we get attached more and more to that delusion of life. And unless we get that grace of the Lord and the Lord really, the magnanimity of the devotional services is so beautiful. So it's completely rare, and that liberation is only for people who actually know how to entangle themselves out of this. We spend our whole lifetime doing our duty, doing this thing, but we don't realize how difficult it is at the time of death to get out of this, because if it can happen to exalted people who have done so many penances, then all our hope is to take the shelter of the holy name and remind ourselves that I have no power, none whatsoever, and it's only the grace of the devotees that can save me. So some of the analogies of that cocoon and everything is so beautifully explained, and I think thank you so all the devotees for their reflection throughout these 2 chapters. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice points. Would someone else like to speak who has not yet spoken? Okay, so we will at least read 1 or 2 verses today. Did everyone get a chance to speak or still?
Prabhuji, I have one question. Can I do?
Yes, please.
So Prabhuji, in chapter 6, text 26, Prahlad Maharaj is telling that everything is external and material, and devotional service is handed to the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu is to be transcendental. What he mentions among them is self-realization, also external or material. But we know that self-realization, by going to the devotional service, we actually self-realized soul. So can you explain more how come self-realization is an external or material thing?
Religion, economic development, and sense gratification. These are described in the Vedas 3 varga, or 3 ways to salvation. Within these 3 categories are education and self-realization. Ritualistic ceremonies performed according to Vedic injunction, logic, the science of law and order, and the various means of earning one's livelihood. So, a lot of people take different approaches for self-realization. So the bhakti process, which is the descending process, and what to speak of self-realization, anything connected to bhakti is transcendental. Like we are studying Bhagavatam, this is spiritual education. This is also education, but this is spiritual education. Even if someone is learning, even the beauty of bhakti yoga is that everything material becomes spiritual if one has the right attitude and if one has the right consciousness. So in the life of a pure devotee, actually there's nothing material, whether one's family, job, education, wealth, education, car, everything is transcendental, like Prabhupada. So in my understanding, the self-realization processes which refer to niti, okay, I am not this, I am not that, through more of speculation, through more of jnana method, through more of mystic yoga method, and then ultimately Sankhya, analytical process, those are all not encouraged, because Prahlad Maharaj is talking about pure bhakti. He is not talking about anything less than pure bhakti. He is ignoring or rejecting everything else as insignificant. So from that perspective, the through jnana, karma, yogic siddhis, through sankhya, analytical, logic, argument, all this is rejecting those. Anyone wants to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So when you said Sankhya is like the analytical and all, but even though Lord himself comes as various incarnations, like Lord Kapila, Buddha and all, so that is for us to take through the logical process, right Prabhuji? Towards the final goal of bhakti.
Well, he comes at a definite time, based on those situations. So Buddha came for a certain purpose, but now time and situation are different. So that doesn't mean we follow those principles in this day and age. We have to follow. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has come in the contemporary age of Kali Yuga and sent his acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, who are giving the process for this day and age. If we say, no, Buddha gave this, he's incarnation of the Supreme Lord, I'll follow that, not the best approach. So Sankhya and all, okay, they're bona fide. But why do we want to do that and waste our precious human form of life when Bhakti Yoga gives the descending process? First of all, we need to learn Sanskrit 12 years Vyakaran. First of all, we need to get qualified teachers. There is bogus Sankhya also. So why unnecessarily complicate lives? So that's my understanding.
Thank you, Professor.
Any other comments? Vipul Prabhu, that answers your question?
Yes, Rose. Thank you very much.
Anything else before we start reading today's? Any comments, questions, corrections? Okay.
Prabhuji, one quick question about the 9 limbs of bhakti. And so Sakyam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So are there more limbs like the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called the Madhurya Purushottam? So is Madhurya included in these 9 limbs, or is that another level?
Madhurya that counts in when we talk about the different rasas. So ultimately, gopis have given up their everything. So in one way we can say that, Atma Samarpan, Atma Nivedan, giving up completely. But giving up completely also could be in different rasas. Who could have given themselves completely more than the gopis? Their every moment was to please Krishna, their life was to please Krishna, their thoughts were to please Krishna, their actions were to please Krishna. So they have given up their complete self to serve Krishna. But the rasa is different in that exchange also. Bali Maharaj rasa is different, Gopi rasa is different. Anyone else wants to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandapranam. So this is there's one very nice example that His Holiness Radhanath Swami gives. He says devotional service is done at the level that we understand. So if you put, this is what he said, if you put Radharani, Gopis and Arjuna or Bhima in the same room, they may not be, it might not be the best situation for both of their devotional service. So that's a rasa bhasa, Prabhu. The Madhurya and these are the level. This is the ultimate absorption in devotional service, Vatsalya. These are Goloka. This is where Goloka Dham begins, and the rest of these 9 means of devotional service are for us on the in the material world. We can see them being exhibited a lot. This is my understanding, and like I said, this is just for the purposes of us understanding. Devotional service is so more beautiful, so more evolved, and it has so many layers of ecstasies and things beyond our comprehension. So just wanted to add something that I understand and how I understood it. Thank you, Prabhu. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you, Mataji, for sharing your reflections. Let's read one verse from chapter 7, Canto 7, what Prahlad learned in the womb. So text 10. Shri Narada Uvacha Ayam Nishkil Bisha Shakshan Mahabhagavato Mahan Tvayana Prapsyate Samsthan Anantanucharo Bali. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Naradamuni replied, the child within this woman's womb is faultless and sinless. Indeed, he is a great devotee, a powerful servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you should not be able to kill him. You will not be able to kill him. Purport. There have been many instances in which demons or non-devotees have attempted to kill a devotee, but they have never been able to destroy a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord promises in the Bhagavad Gita, Kanteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. This is a declaration by the Supreme Personality of Godhead that his devotee cannot be killed by demons. Prahlad Maharaj is the vivid example of the truth of this promise. Naradamuni told the King of Heaven, it would be impossible for you to kill the child, even though you are demigods, and certainly it would be impossible for others. So, Indra said, if you go back a little, Indra said, well, we don't have to do anything with the mother. Actually, we want to kill the child because he is going to be the next Hiranyakashipu. And in text number actually 3, I was hearing the lecture today. Earlier I couldn't understand this meaning properly. What does it mean that a serpent is eaten by the small ants, so the troublesome Hiranyakashipu, who always inflicted miseries upon all types of people, has now been defeated by the reactions of his own sinful activities? So the point here is that the demigods thought that, oh, Hiranyakashipu, he has been killed by those ants because his body was covered with anthill. And very later the effulgence started to come. So looks like this is in the early phase of the Hiranyakashipu going to perform tapasya. And that very point, after a few years, the body was covered with anthill, and then the demigods thought, okay, he is killed because sinful person, so many sins he had done, that's what he deserved. Sinful people deserve to die, that's what is out, and then they come to attack the demons. Now Naradamuni is saying to Indra that you cannot kill this person. Well, and actually Indra's Indra was basically a servant of Hiranyakashipu. We read in the previous chapter. Hiranyakashipu, tried his head to toe, everything he tried. Sarva upaya. All upaya he did, he couldn't kill. Not to speak of anyone. Even demigods, it's mentioned clearly, even demigods cannot harm. No other griha can harm, because we read previously in chapter 4 that he was covered with Krishna graha. One who is covered with Krishna graha, one who is completely intoxicated in the name, form, qualities of the Supreme Lord, this Shani, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Surya, all these graha cannot harm that person, because that devotee is a powerful servant of Hari. Krishna can go to any extent to protect his devotees. My devotee will never perish, Krishna says. So, Naradamuni is telling, don't waste your time. You cannot do any harm to this devotee, because he is a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. And he is sinless and faultless. Any other comments anyone has? Any questions before we wrap up today's discussion? Any comments?
Prabhuji, in this verse, Naradamuni is saying he is a great devotee. So, we discussed earlier that Prahlad Maharaj, because of his association with Naradamuni, he became a great devotee. But based on this verse, Naradamuni is saying he's already a great devotee. So does that mean Prahlad Maharaj has Suhrida from a previous life? Or is it because Naradamuni is seeing the future that he's saying he's a great devotee? Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Your scrutinizingly reading is very inspiring. Again, what I understand is, as you mentioned, the second point, great souls like Naradamuni, they know Bhut, Bhavishya and Vartaman, so they know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. So that would be my understanding on this. So he knows who will become a devotee. Any other comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is the kind of question when Prabhupada said, you are right to Yamuna when she said Krishna and Balram are not the same. And then another Prabhu said, but Krishna and Balram are same. And Prabhupada said, you are right. And then another person said, but they are saying two different things, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, you are right. And then he said, you decide. So this is one of those nice questions. Because even in chapter 5th or 4th, we read that Prahlad Maharaj did bring it from the last life. And then another chapter we read that Prahlad Maharaj is also present in the material world and also is present in the spiritual world. If he's present in spiritual world, he's Nitya Mukta, he's already exalted devotee. And Narad Muni is accepting him as a disciple. That means Narad Muni is more exalted. So either way you look at it, Prabhu, very nice, like Shubhalas Prabhu said, very nicely scrutinizingly reading the scripture. And very nice question. And both the aspects are right, I think. Thank you, Prabhu. Haribol.
Thank you so much. Okay, we will stop here and continue. And if you get chance, you can hear the summaries and please correct, share the corrections. And also, I'm very, very inspired and happy. A lot of devotees have done the quizzes, and I hope it was useful to you and in some way. So, thank you so much. Grantraj, Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samavita Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.